Hey guys, Bicep here, bringing you this 10.0.7 Frost Death Knight two-handed Obliteration Mythic Plus guide. This video will cover kind of everything you need to know to play two-handed Obliteration effectively in 10.0.7, including the talents, the rotation, a couple of points in the gear, that kind of thing. Furthermore, I will do commentary of the run once I've finished all the explanatory bits. And you can also just follow along. You can see up here, that is a details plugin, which will show you exactly what I'm pressing. Now, before we start, Frost in 10.0.7, how does it feel? How much damage do we do? That kind of thing. So compared to previously, Frost feels better to play and deals quite a lot more damage. Two-hander specifically is, I think, really quite strong here. We burst big. Like all my cooldowns, I do like 500k on a pack like this, really quite strong, and I will finish this run at 110k overall. I really enjoy playing it, and I think it is powerful, just not considered to be meta, but I'm in the process of changing that. Anyway, with the changes, we did free up a couple of talent points, so the build I'm running currently is the one up here. We do go all the way down into absolute zero generally. Absolute zero. Doing that isn't necessarily the best all the time. You do have to be quite good at pressing your Frost Swim every 1.5 minutes to get that line up with Postle every 3 minutes. If you don't do absolute zero, it's much easier to line them up, kind of thing. I feel like absolute 0 point, it can be reallocated. For instance, Chill Streak. You know, I want it to be good, but I'm not sure if it is actually better than absolute zero anywhere. I can potentially see the play in, for instance, Ruby Life Pools. There's a lot of 2-target cleave there, especially for the bosses, but the low range just makes it a bit tricky to actually leverage properly. You can also just take that absolute 0 point and put it into your second point in Endurance Strength. Just to get, you know, it's really powerful both in single target and AoE, and it's generally, it sims a bit higher, right? But you do lose that big 1.5 minute burst window, and you do lose that stun, so I'm not too sure. Other than that, you know, most of this is kind of set in stone, right? That's the point. I will move around based on dungeon, based on what I feel like, and it's not, you know, 100% it's not 100% set in stone, the talent build. Or as you can see that I died. Mistake by me. Happens, right? Now, for gear and such, right, I will be running Postle Box for my trinket. It is really good to get that 3-minute lineup with Frostman's Fury. That's kind of why you're doing it. But you can run stuff like Hoof as well. Great on use. You don't necessarily need to run Postle. Specifically, when you're running absolute zero, like, you will generally delay it a little bit, which means that Postle won't always perfectly align. You can see it here, Postle is up, and I have like 20 seconds left on my Frostworm. So any other unused trinket kind of also works fine. For the passive trinkets, which you don't even want to use, Icon is kind of like the best option. I unfortunately don't have that, so I'm running what's it called? Hunger the Pack, which does drop on this dungeon actually. Now, rotation, right? This is going to be the most important aspect of this video. Hopefully, you can see me play. Will provide some good insight in exactly what we should be pressing, right? Your number one priority is to, you know, make sure your pillar windows are perfect, right? The absolute majority of damage comes from those pillar windows, and executing properly means that you will increase your damage significantly. In the same way, if you do mess them up, you will see that you won't be doing nearly as much damage as you should. The core kind of task here in these pillar windows is to consume as many Killing Machine procs as possible. That's kind of like that is your main goal. And the rotation we execute is done in a way that is to maximize that, right? we will do something that I call weaving or blit weaving. This means that every other GCD you will generate a killing machine proc, and then you will then consume it. We do have, you know, killing machine stacking now. We do have the tier set that will make them not be consumed sometimes. You also have these natural killing machine procs. So it's not going to be like as straightforward as doing oblit, generate killing machine, oblit, generate, and so on, so on. So sometimes you do have to react. You know, you will get 2 stacks potentially, so you do 2 oblits in a row, that kind of thing. Anyway, so in addition to consuming all these killing machines, right, we want to be cleaving as well. And that's with DefNK, your oblits will cleave up to 2 extra targets, right? This is where all your damage comes from, right? These huge obliterates, you can see there, 300k, every GCD hitting 3 targets. It's like around 1 million every time you hit that button. And that's where your damage comes from. You can see here, I'm bursting 500k, and it's due to those big oblit crits. Okay, enough kind of chat about the general kind of vibe of the burst. Let's talk about the specifics. So how do you initiate a pool? What do you prioritize, right? And so on. First of all, your oblit window is sacred, and you should not be pressing anything else but obliterate or something that generates a killing machine. So Remorse Winter, use that before your pillar window. Abomination Limb, use it before pillar window, right? Those are the 2 primary spells. Once you get in those, you know, used and out of the way, what you're going to do is going to press pillar and immediately generate a proc of killing machine. This is done with Glacial Advance, Howling Blast, or Frost Strike. Now, you need to make a choice there, right? Which one do you press? So let's talk about the priority here. So which one of my 3 potential generating spells do I press to actually get my killing machines? Generally, if you have a proc of Rime, you will use Howling Blast, right? Generally, it's like 90% of the scenarios, that's what you're going to do. The exception to that, like when do you want to press Glacial Advance or Frost Strike, is when your Unleashed Frenzy is about to run off. So when you're tracking Unleashed Frenzy, this is going to be Isotalons as well, right? They share the uptime. If it's about to run off, you can choose between Howling Blast or Glacial Advance / Frost Strike. You will then use Glacial Advance or Frost Strike. Those 2 are easy to choose between, right? Whenever there's more than 1 target, you press Glacial Advance. If it's a single target encounter, you press Frost Strike. Now, let's get into the gritty bit here. So that's one scenario where you do use Glacial Advance / Frost Strike over Howling Blast, or consuming the Rime proc, right? What are the other scenarios? So the only other case you would do that is when there's a huge pool, so like 7 targets plus, and your Remorse Winter is not ticking, right? If Remorse Winter is up, you do want to use the Howling Blast because it synergizes with Gathering Storm, right? So using that Howling Blast will do both deal a lot of damage, but it will also stack up your Remorse Winter, which ends up being a big part of your overall damage. That's why you prioritize it. As you can see, you would almost always have Remorse Winter up in a pool, so the cases where you do actually prioritize Glacial Advance or Frost Strike is pretty much only for that Unleashed Frenzy buff, right? Outside of that, it's always Rime, Howling Blast are taking the priority. All right, so this is still the first GCD, so you just press pillar, right? You generated your first killing machine. What do you do next? Well, you put down DefNK. DefNK is a 10-second duration AoE. Your pillar is 12 seconds. So the reason we don't use DefNK before is if you did, you wouldn't get a full overlap, which meant that the number of actual killing machine obliterates that would cleave would be much lower. So we do actually kind of waste a GCD in our pillar window to pop down DefNK just to get that maximum amount of overlap. All right. So that's the second GCD. What happens next? First one, you generate killing machine. Second one, pop on DefNK. After this point, it's all about pressing Obliterate to consume those killing machines. So whenever you have killing machine, you will want to press Obliterate when you can, right? This doesn't always work out. So the thing is, you know, you don't have infinite amount of runes, so you can't just keep spamming. Like if you get loads of procs, loads of killing machines, sometimes you can like do 4 killing machine oblits in a row and it's fine. Sometimes you're unlucky and you don't get any procs, which means that you won't have the runes, right? But if you can, do press Obliterate with the killing machine. That is your #1 priority. Now, if you don't have a killing machine proc, your task is to generate one as soon as possible, and that's when we do another Glacial Advance, Frost Strike, or Howling Blast. Again, the same priority as before. It generally always use the Rhyme procs as priority. If you don't have one, it's Glacial Advance in AoE or Frost Strike in single target, right? The one exception was when we need Unleash Frenzy to keep that up. All right. Once you generated the killing machine, you then go and press Obliterate again, and then you generate and press Obliterate, and so on and so on. Yeah. Sometimes you're unlucky where you will actually not get any procs, as I said, and then you're just going to have to keep pressing Howling Blast, Glacial Advance, Frost Strike, whichever one has the priority, to try and generate runes, right? All these abilities in your Pillar Frost window will generate runes, both due to Obliteration, the talent itself. Oops, die there. Let's just go forward a little bit. Right, they all have a 30% chance, and then also the runing power consuming ones can also generate runes. In reality, right, if you just look at a normal sequence, what happens in an AoE pool? Well, you go Remorseless Winter, you start up Abomination Limb, Remorseless Winter, Pillar plus Howling Blast, Deafening K, Obliterate, and then you often go Glacial Advance, Obliterate, Howling Blast, Obliterate, Glacial Advance, Obliterate. And sometimes it's like Glacial Advance, Obliterate, 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 if you're lucky, and you get loads of procs. That's the kind of vibe. It's all about making sure you execute that GCD perfectly. So you practice it a lot, make sure you are very quick on your timings, make sure, you know, that you do not, you know, overcap on killing machine procs, for instance, that kind of thing. That's kind of Frost AoE. So after this point, you don't do much damage. Like all of your damage is really in that Obliterate window. So that's where you want to care. But still, in between Obliterate windows, what you will be doing is you're going to hit your Remorseless Winter as soon as it comes up. You're going to use your runes on Obliterate, any procs of Rhyme use on Howling Blast, and then you use Glacial Advance as your rune power spender. There's nothing fancy in there. You can just press whatever buttons lights up, that kind of thing. We do have a secondary Deafening K window that I feel like we need to discuss. We are running with double Deafening K. So what we'll do is that you'll do sometimes, right? You can't do this always, but sometimes you will have a second Deafening K you can use before your next pillar window. Obviously, if your next pillar coming up, you only have one charge of Deafening K, you don't want to use that. You want to save it for the actual pillar window. What you do, you pop it down, right? When you get a proc of killing machine, I always like to get that so you actually do get some value, and then you kind of just continue your normal rotation. The real value from that Deafening K, you do get a little bit of cleave. You know, your Obliterate won't do that much damage, but importantly, your Obliterate, since there's 3 targets, there's 3 opportunities to crit, which means that you're going to get a little bit of extra value for an ice cap, right? That's kind of it. And then you're kind of just preparing yourself for the next Obliteration window. And that's the whole idea. Like the time between your Pillar Frost, right, doesn't really matter that much. It's all about setting up your big burst windows. I feel like we need to discuss one important aspect here is kind of pooling. You generally don't need to save that many resources for your Pillar Frost windows, because like when you initiate a pool, right, you're gonna have lots of runes available, so it's fine. But secondary lit windows, that is a case where you're gonna want to save up some resources. generally just try and prioritize consuming your rune power before the Pillar Frost window. Means that you will passively generate more runes, and you'll get some procs that generate even more runes, and it's going to then be fine to execute that without kind of stalling, not getting enough runes. Still, I'm not perfect at this. I do make mistakes, so don't feel disheartened when you do your Pillar Frost windows and they kind of you end up running out of runes. If it happens loads, you need to think about, hang on, am I pulling correctly? But generally, it will happen quite a lot. Let's see, is it lagging? It's just me. No. All right. That's pretty much the AoE. The only difference with single target, as I said before, is that you will be using Frost Strike instead of Glacial Advance. Furthermore, you won't be pressing Deafening Decay as your second GCD in your pillar window. So that's kind of much it. That's kind of it. You will still do that Oblit Weaving. It's all about your Pillar Frost window still. Do try and save some runes for it so you don't end up starving, and that's it. Your Frost and Fury is the only thing I feel like we haven't discussed here. When should that come? For single target, do it after your pillar window, right? You don't want to do it inside because it's going to waste the GCD, and you don't want to do it before because afterwards you do get that extra strength from enduring strength, I think it's called. Yeah, so just after. In AoE, you want to use it as the final GCD in your window, final or penultimate one, to get that big strength buff for it, so you can really do a lot of damage. Like in a big pool, a single Frostworm can do millions of damage. It can crit for like 500k. It's really a strong button. All right. Final thing, probably Puzzle Box. Use it before your pillar window. That's pretty much it. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good overview on how to play Frost DK in Mythic Plus. It's all about, maximizing the damage of your Pillar Frost windows, making sure you pop down Deafening K at second GCD, get that huge Oblit Cleave. That's the that's the path to success. I think one final thing I want to notice, which is kind of like a niche scenario we can actually do now that we have these Killing Machine stacking going on. If you're in your Pillar Frost window, right, you're getting loads and loads of procs, which means that you're not using your Frost Strike or Glacial Advance, right? Your buff is run out. You do have Killing Machine proc. What do you do? Since Killing Machine can stack, if you only have one stack of it, what you can do is you can use Glacial Advance, go to 2 stacks, refresh your buff, and then do double Oblit after. Right, that can happen. So the rule I said earlier, that always consume your Killing Machine procs ASAP, it's not necessarily the case to do so always. There's that niche scenario where you have one stack, you're about to have your buff run out, you do Glacial Advance to refresh the buff, get 2 stacks, and then you do double Oblit. Right? Other than that, hopefully that wasn't too much rambling. I feel like it's important to just talk about this a lot. So, because, your damage and keys, it's all about the rotation, right? Stat don't matter that much. Obviously, gear matters a lot, but if you feel like you're not doing that much, it is most likely that you're not executing the rotation properly. Right. Final thing before we go to commentary, stats. Generally, try and get 25% haste, a bit higher, 26, 27. This is to get a little bit of, what's it called? There's a breakpoint in haste at 25% where you get 1 extra GCD in your Deafening K window in single target, right? AoE, it's different because you do get haste from the Deafening K. So it's kind of like a breakpoint-ish. So I like to aim for 26, 27%. After that point, I roughly want an equal amount of crit mastery. So you can see here I have 3.5k mastery, and I believe around 3.5k crit when my where's my flask gone? I'm actually running Temper Versatility here because I felt like I needed it for this kind of key. Tried to tank it head on, but it kind of one-shotted me. If I had IBF there, it would have been fine. So, you know, whoops. Anyway, most keys, I'm running Iced Thyle or Corrupting Rage to get that extra crit, which means that I have pretty much perfect 3.5k mastery, 3.5k crit. It doesn't matter that much, right? Just versatility is kind of crap, so don't use that. Otherwise, it's kind of like, you know, whatever. All right. That's all the guide content of this video. If that's what you came from, you know, the end of this is just going to be my commentary of the final part of this run. So thank you for tuning in, if that's all you're going to watch. Now, let's talk about what we're doing here. You might have noticed we don't have a healer. So it's one tank at 4 DPS. This works because Zephyr is just an insane healer on this paladin. They do like 60k HPS, it's insane. They did nerf this, it's going to nerf next reset, but I still think it's going to work out. Anyway, what we're doing here is we're going to do this bit wolf pool, where you have both ranged players standing on top of this rock, which means that none of these wolves are actually going to jump. Unfortunately, I think they messed it up. The what's it called? The warlock here didn't quite do it alright, so they will still be jumping. But anyway, you can see here I go into my Oblit window. Unfortunately, we're going to be kiting these quite a lot, so it's fine actually. Kite them around in a circle. We do have lots and lots of haste here. Sorry, speed, right? Like you get that buff after you kill both the bosses. So the tank has no problem just running around in a circle, and then we just murder these walls. You can see that I did my kind of classic burst window, you know, pillar, definitely K, lots of cleaves, and then right at the end I used my frostworm. Right, got another burst window, pop on definitely K, do some nice cleave. You can see I starved out quite quickly there. I should have probably saved a bit more runes for the window, but that's fine. Do get some nice cleaves, and we end up around 250k on this pool, which I'd say is very much acceptable. After this point, what we're going to do is we're going to run up, we're going to get a couple of bears, right, and then we're going to do the those mini bosses before the final boss. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Don't run away from me, paladin. Anyway, oh, actually, we're going to do the bears as well. Do the wolves, and then all the bears. Very similar tactic there. It's going to be a lot of kiting in a circle, that kind of thing. You can see here, I do have my Frostwing coming up here in 10 seconds. I'm going to have my pillar. So it's going to be a nice big burst on that pack. But we're going to be very responsible. It's very important, specifically as Frost DK, like your Oblits hit like 200, 300k every other GCD. You can draw aggro quite easily. You saw that potentially, the first pull in this dungeon. I did actually over aggro on the dragon, like at the end of the pull. That just means that I was doing insane amount of priority damage on that target. Right, we're going to wait for the tank to group everything up here before we actually get started. We're going to do Abomination Limb, Empowering Weapon. There we go. We get PI, down with Definite K, and now we're just going to be banging out damage. Perfect with the Thundering buff there. Send out the dragon. Right, we're at 300k DPS. You can see here, since I do get a lot of haste there, I can actually click my messed up Remorse Winter. Remorse Winter, right, with Gathering Storm, if you spend enough runes, you can actually click it again to refresh it, maintain the 10 stacks, and just deal an insane amount of extra damage. Not something we can normally do, but if you're lucky enough to get PI like I do here, it can actually happen quite often, and you're going to do your very best to do it. You know, make sure you prioritize spending those runes when it's possible. Oh, that's something I should have talked about earlier in the rotation bit. It doesn't happen that often, but when you can do it, very much prioritize it. Right, pack's about to die. 200k DPS, not too shabby. And we're just gonna run around. We're gonna skip the dragon, which is relatively easy. Just run to the right, both here and next one. and then we're going to pick up those bears. So what you can do, right, the final event, how it's supposed to work, right, is that you talk to each NPC one at a time. You do one, and then the last two is going to spawn at the same time, which is not obviously not very efficient. So to get around that, what you can do is pick up these bears. When you throw them on these mobs, they're going to kind of become mad at each other. So they're going to start attacking whatever targets close to them. After they're done with that, you can then talk to them again, and that will allow you to essentially fight all of them at the same time. Now, to do that, you need to pick up 3 bears. We only managed to do 2 because I think 1 was picked up a bit too early, which meant that we didn't have enough time to actually get it and sort it out. We've got Minesweeper here. That's sufficient, means they have much smaller aggro range, so we can just run past these once they all suit up. So we just need that final one. There we go, and then just run. Off we go. Cool. I do make a mistake here. You can see we have Thundering coming up, but I was like, yeah, this is going to be really juicy. Unfortunately, you start off fighting one, and it takes a while for the other 2 to actually join the fight. So I think I mistakenly popped my cooldowns too quickly. Should have held them until we had all the 3. Because we have 3 targets, it's just an insane Frosty K cleave scenario. Anyway. Right, we're going to talk to, we're going to throw the bear here. I need to be quite quick because it was running out. Right, we go through another one. We're going to talk to 1 NPC. There we go. Yeah, the priest didn't have it. So I used possible all my cooldowns, which was a mistake because we only had 4, right? Right, there we go. Do you get some value? Awfully timed frost swim there, like using that big of a hit just as it becomes kind of the enemy becomes attackable. It's just going to bring aggro immediately. So, but I didn't have much of a choice. I used my cooldowns far too quickly, so kind of only have myself to blame there. We do have the next burst window. Unfortunately, these mobs need to be kited. We have those ancestors moving in, so going to be a bit difficult to get some nice Oblit cleave. Got most of it off, right? You can't expect more. Terrible kind of pooling from my end there. I ended up starving that Oblit window. It does feel really bad if you don't get any procs, but I should have just played better. Made sure I had a couple of runes before I went into it. It's something I need to improve on. I feel like generally I could pool more before my Oblit windows, and it would probably be good for my overall DPS. You know, always look at your own gameplay, think about what you can improve, because I feel like you know, all of us can actually generally do something better. Right, can talk to you right, final guy. You can see there, I was just about to have my strength buff running out, so I did use a Glacial Advance. That hit him just as he became attackable, so quite happy about that. There we go, you saw something funny maybe. I used a naked Howling Blast there in my Oblip window. This doesn't happen very, like, it nearly never happens, but if you're in a scenario where you are in your pillar window, right? Sorry, I've used pillar / Obliteration window interchangeably all the time, so hopefully that's not too confusing. Anyway, so you're sitting there, you don't have any rune power, you don't have Killing Machine proc, but you have 3 runes. What you can do is do a naked Howling Blast, generate Killing Machine, so you can then use an Obliterate. That's much more preferable than just kind of yeah, doing an Obliterate without the Killing Machine proc, for instance, or I don't know, waiting around to get a proc. Yeah, so naked Howling Blast to generate Killing Machine in your pillar window does happen. It also happens always on single target encounters and pool, right? If you go into a single target fight, no runic power, you won't be getting, oh, if you have Abomination Limb, you will get a Rhyme proc, but without it, what you do is actually do Pillar of Frost and then immediately a naked Howling Blast to generate that first Killing Machine proc. Right, we've got 7 minutes. We are going to time this, luckily, so I do actually get some score from it. But these two encounters are not the most exciting. Right, we're just going to do our burst window here. I did use my potion. I probably should have waited that until we are on the Odin fight, but oh well. Get a couple of juicy procs there, you can see. Triple bits. Mate, I nearly forgot to walk into the shield. Jesus, man. You can see here, we do get a Howling Blast extension. So, if you look at my buffs up there, you can see I maintain 10 stacks of Gathering Storm. It generally, as I said, if you do get PI, you can do it. During Blood Loss, it's also a good opportunity where you can extend it. Alright, we're now gonna do some nice padding on these ads. They do need to die, so it's not too bad, but I do a ton of damage on them. Like 3-4 target cleave, 2-hand Obliteration, just so well. It's really juicy. Alright. Nothing too much happening other on this. Like the single target, you know, it's not the most difficult rotation. It does require you to kind of be ready on the procs and what kind of thing, but generally that's not where it kind of makes or breaks. One comment I have in the past said that if you do get natural Killing Machine procs before your Pillar Frost window, consume them before initiating it. Not true. You don't want to delay your Pillar Frost window ever, because it's so much value that if you just delay it a couple of seconds, you're going to lose out overall. So if you do get natural Killing Machine procs, just press a pillar, consume it immediately. That's the kind of vibe. You can also sometimes go to 2 stacks of Killing Machine if you want to. If you have a lot of runes, so you can then do double bit after that point. That Fell Rush, we can just AMS it. There you go. That's a good example where I did it. So pillar into a blitz when I had a natural Killing Machine proc before going into the window. Anyway, MS the charge there means that you don't get a buff, get the dot afterwards. So pretty good value. Alright, and skill rolls down. Time for the final boss. As you might understand, running 4 DPS means that bosses are a bit quicker than normal. We have no issues at all healing because the Paladin just does incredibly well off healing. Both the tank and the DPS Paladin to some extent. However, the tank does by far the most. There's just a huge amount of healing. Unfortunately, you can see we've got Thundering coming up. It's not ideal timing. You would like Thundering to show up when you do get the rune buff, right? To get the real juicy burst, but what can you do? Nothing too much to focus on this fight. As a Frost TK, saving your Death's Advance is important. Otherwise, you might end up dying due to the we're just very slow. So when you have to run out of a big circle, if you don't have Death's Advance, you will die. Essentially. Right, we're going to clear here. The tank gets hit by that and gets on, but that's fine. Alright, he's going to spawn the ad. It's over there. We can use Death's Advance and run and kill it as quickly as we can. When it comes to defensive usage here, right, so at the start of this fight, these bears don't do that much, but after the second runes, around that point, they're going to essentially one-shot you, especially on a bit higher keys. So you're going to have to save your AMS for that. However, this first runes, you can AMS the specific debuff, like it deals a ton of damage, so we just need to focus on surviving there. We use all our cooldowns, we have Bloodlust running, and we're just pumping out with that debuff. Right, we've got some 300k or blitz. Juicy. Just look at that. Whew. Love to see it. You can see I get a Warmth Winter extension there. Alright. Shattering. It's not doing that much yet. So I think in hindsight I should have saved my Pillar Frost there. The thing is that, you know, Runic Brand is coming up, so it would have just been better to save it for that. Alright. We're going to use IBF here for next Runic Brand. I just need to be quick. I can use Death Strike on the boss as I run over to get some extra value. But he's about to die. Now this is the spares that did a lot of damage, so this is where I should have actually saved my AMS for. You can see I will almost die. One shot there. Ooh. Oh well. Boss is dying. We timed the key. Oh Jesus, you see that? A lot of damage. Anyway, I've had my overall pair for a while now. Hopefully, do sort that out. Edges and biceps. Frost DK, it feels great to play. It's really fun to get those big oblit crits, and it does a lot of damage. 100k, 110k in Horse of Valor, obviously with PI, does inflate a little bit, but I think that's a really solid number. And I think that Frost DK is very much competitive when it comes to raw damage. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought about this video. Are you enjoying Frost DK? Are you pumping? You know, do you let me know? Upvote, downvote, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.